Hi, and welcome to week 2 of the REBT course, which aims to improve psychological well-being and performance for sales professionals in the workplace. This week we're going to learn about Ellis's GABCDE framework and irrational versus rational beliefs. But before we move on, I think it's a good idea to do a quick recap on what we've learned from last week's whistle-stop tour of rational emotive behaviour therapy. Albert Ellis is a renowned American psychologist who developed REBT in the 1950s. It has a humanistic underpinning and is based on Stoic philosophy. REBT was developed from a clinical therapeutic approach, but is now widely used across non-clinical settings and within the workplace, particularly in highly stressful performance-driven occupations such as sport. More research is now being done by psychologists to explore its effectiveness in other populations, such as business settings, as workplace well-being is a vital ingredient for our economy since the catastrophic impact of COVID-19. Ellis argued that people are aware of irrational beliefs, but they don't let them go. They hold on to them, and this influences problematic behaviour. He emphasised how our cognitions reinforce our own distress, and argued that our thoughts or cognitions impact emotions, which in turn impact behaviours. We learnt that the 4 main irrational beliefs derive from demanding I must statements, low frustration tolerance, awfulising situations, and depreciation of the self or others. Such irrational beliefs cause unhealthy, negative emotions and influence behavioural responses that move us away from our goals rather than toward them. Okay, this week we're going to be looking in more detail at some of the key distinguishing features of REBT. So if you feel like taking some notes, now's a good time to grab a pen and some paper. The 3 key distinguishing features of REBT are the GABCDE framework, reframing irrational beliefs, and understanding unhelpful negative emotions versus helpful negative emotions. By the end of this session, you should be able to identify your own irrational thoughts and some strategies for achieving improved psychological well-being and workplace success. The key notion of rational emotive behaviour therapy is that it is our thoughts about situations that cause us distress and not the situation itself. The GABCDE model of emotional disturbance was developed by Albert Ellis in this format simply to break down why this happens and to teach people exactly how their beliefs cause emotional and behavioural responses. In the following slides, we'll break down the GABCDE framework. The model you see here demonstrates how the A, which stands for activating event or adversity, has an influence on our beliefs. This can be linked to past or future anxieties and beliefs that we have learned throughout our lives. But the beliefs we hold when faced with challenges in life generate emotional consequences. C. Identifying and disputing beliefs that are irrational and unhelpful to us bring new effects, E, which result in reduced stress and more helpful responses that bring us closer to our goals. As you can see in this simple diagram, the flow of events is logical and easy to understand. G stands for goals, as Ellis claimed that emotional distress occurs when a situation prevents us from achieving our goals. A stands for activating event or adversity. The activating event or adversity that causes the stress, worry, or change in emotion. This could be from something trivial to something significant. Recognition is the first step on many change processes, and the same in this process. B refers to one's irrational belief about A, the activating event. The belief then leads to C, the emotional and behavioural consequences. Therefore, B is the belief system, which is the cognitive component in a person's reaction to the events. Often they are limiting beliefs or negative self-talk. The capacity to recognise the activating event or adversity and therefore change the mental self-talk becomes a crucial part of the change. For example, the mental self-talk of a lead generator may be, "I'm really bad at taking rejection. This call will go really badly." C. The consequences from an emotional perspective is often repetitive and can create self-fulfilling prophecies. So let's look at an example of this. Let's say a sales agent is nervous. This creates a poor flow and rapport with prospective customers, which makes them even more nervous and less likely to have a successful call. This framework emphasizes how it is important to challenge one's self-defeating, irrational beliefs and replace them with more rational, positive and helpful ones in order to make positive change. More rational beliefs lead to healthier negative emotions, which promote improved well-being and performance. But this doesn't mean positive thinking equals positive emotions. We are talking negative, unhealthy emotions versus negative, healthy emotions. We'll go into more detail about what these are in next week's session. D stands for disputation, or challenging the irrational or limiting beliefs. This is required for mental change to take place. Reviewing, challenging and changing problematic beliefs will set you up for future success. For example, the lead generator recognises the thought pattern, "I'm really bad at taking rejection, this call will go really badly," and changes it. He or she sees they are not based on truth or logic and adapts over time to a view of believing that they can do much better on the call if they reframe their thinking. It is our beliefs that cause either healthy negative emotions or unhealthy negative emotions, which influence helpful or unhelpful behaviours. E stands for new effect, or the new, more effective emotions and behaviours that help us to overcome distress and achieve our goals. E, the effect of challenging the self-defeating belief system. Psychologists often use this cognitive restructuring as new mental patterns and habits are created. For example, a presenter gains more confidence as their presentations become more fluid and they get more positive feedback. This, in turn, improves their self-belief and creates a positive cycle of change. It is known in REBT as the elegant change. Here is an example of how disputation may be used in competitive sport, where a need-to-win mindset is expected, and I'm sure you'll see a similarity with competitive sales roles. Tom is facing an important selection event. He believes he absolutely must be successful, as he thinks he would be a complete failure and couldn't bear it if he wasn't selected. He's now causing himself considerable stress and anxiety, which are unhealthy negative emotions. These are the negative consequences of his irrational beliefs and mean that Tom is less likely to perform to the best of his ability and may even avoid attending the event altogether out of fear of failure. When looking at the D section, there are 3 kinds of disputes that can be used. Number 1, empirical, scientific dispute. Where is the proof or basis for the belief, feelings, thought patterns? This is where you take your thoughts to court. Functional dispute. Is the belief supporting some other, potentially unconscious goals? And thirdly, logical dispute. Does the belief system make common sense? Is there any generalization or other thought pattern influencing these beliefs? In this case, Tom should be challenging his beliefs and replacing them with a more rational, "I want to be successful, so I will try my best, but if I'm not selected, this doesn't make me a failure." This rational and pragmatic thinking is more helpful, as Tom is less stressed and anxious and is consequently better placed to attend and perform at his best, increasing his chances of selection and achieving his goal. One key way in which this GABCDE concept can be used is to create a learning journal where key moments of tension, stress, or any other significant emotional switching has happened. This journaling can help you work through the process by writing down the GABCDE model and working through the different elements yourself. Last week, for your homework, you were asked to note down any adversities you faced at work and the thoughts and feelings that accompanied them. This week, you should be able to better identify irrational beliefs with demanding "I must" statements, low frustration tolerance such as "I can't stand it," awfulizing events that are bad but not awful, and thoughts of depreciation about yourself, the world, or others, thinking you're a complete failure if something goes wrong, or that your boss is a completely terrible person if they do not treat you fairly. After all, what boss do you know that treats people fairly 100% of the time? You should recognize the good qualities within yourself and others and realize that complete and absolute statements are rigid and unhelpful irrational beliefs. Changing these beliefs will enable you to overcome stress much quicker, and in this way you are more likely to achieve success, rather than quitting your job or being unmotivated to turn circumstances around if things don't go your way. Over the next week, you should use the GABCDE model to help you put this approach into action. More adaptive, helpful and rational beliefs come in the form of preferences, "I wants" rather than "I musts." High frustration tolerance. This means you tell yourself you can stand it, whatever it is. You have overcome it before and can do it again. There is no evidence to support that you cannot stand or tolerate something. Recognize when situations are bad but not awful. Work on unconditional acceptance for yourself and others, rather than thinking you are a complete failure or people are completely bad if they don't show you respect, for example. Okay, so grab your pen and paper and have a go at reframing these statements to create more rational beliefs. Case example 1. I've been unfairly criticised by my boss and this has made me extremely angry. My boss has to be fair to me and I can't stand it when he isn't. Case example 2. I'm so ashamed because I made a massive mistake during a sales call which cost us the entire deal. I must not fail, and when I do it shows that I'm a complete failure. Case example 3. I have a crucial job interview coming up which is causing me to be extremely anxious. I have to succeed in the interview, otherwise it'd be awful. Practicing how to identify and dispute your own irrational beliefs is the key for making long-term positive change. Here you can see examples of rational and irrational beliefs. Take a few moments to sort them out in your head. I'm sure you got them all right. So you can see here the rational beliefs are: losing does not make me a complete failure. It would be bad but not awful if I lost. I don't like it, but I can tolerate failure. I really want to succeed, but that doesn't mean I have to. And the irrational beliefs are: it would be awful if I lost. I would like to, therefore I must be successful. Okay then, homework time. So this week's homework is for you to utilise what you've learned about the GABCDE framework and focus on disputing and on reframing any irrational beliefs that come up over the next week. Keep a note of how you're feeling when any irrational beliefs arise, as next week we will discuss more about unhealthy negative emotions versus healthy ones. And you will also have a go at scoring yourself to try and understand which of the 4 key domains is your biggest problem area to work on. Remember, always be honest and do the work to achieve positive changes in your emotional well-being and performance. The real work gets done by you outside of the workshops. Have a great week. Bye.